I don't know. Sabbath is important. Rest is important. If you work out your muscles every day, they don't get a chance to rest. So I use that as an excuse not to work out sometimes, but you do need rest to actually strengthen yourself. So we do a thing called Sabbath, although like our Sabbath thing has kind of morphed into lots of days.
Your Sabbathing.
My Sabbath thing.
I still feel it's important to keep a day aside.
Keep a day aside. And so what is the point and purpose of it? How do we define it?
No have-tos.
No have-tos. Yeah. So not having to do the laundry, not having to do grocery shopping, maybe not having to cook. Pizza night. No have-tos. Yeah, so that's my Tuesday was a little different. It wasn't more family.
But to keep it quieter and be able to focus on God and hear God and spend time with God.
The Sabbath is for us to recharge.
I see.
Anything else?
I have.
You got nothing. How's your coffee this morning?
It's very good. It's very hot.
It's very hot.
Feeling good. Having boundaries doesn't complicate life. Boundaries simplify life. From Beyond Codependency. There is a positive aspect to boundary setting. We learn to listen to ourselves and identify what hurts us and what we don't like, but we also learn to identify what feels good. When we are willing to take some risks and begin actively doing so, we will enhance the quality of our life. What do we like? What feels good? What brings us pleasure? Whose company do we enjoy? What helps us to feel good in the morning? What's a real treat in our life? What are the small daily activities that make us feel nurtured and cared for? What appeals to our emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical self? What actually feels good to us? We have deprived ourselves too long. There is no need to do that anymore. No need. If it feels good and the consequences are self-loving and not self-defeating, do it. Today, I will do for myself those little things that make life more pleasurable. I will not deny myself healthy treats. Healthy treats.
So where I'm a little confused is I thought we started out on boundaries.
We did.
And then it felt like we took a hard left.
Feeling good.
Feeling good. So then how do the two correlate as in?
Learning to listen to ourselves and identify what hurts us and what we don't like. But we also identify what feels good. When we are willing to take some risks and begin actively doing so, we will enhance the quality of our life.
So then setting boundaries against doing things doing for everyone else?
Yeah, I think if you start setting boundaries and identifying what hurts you, and then you say like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore, then you have more space in your life for things that...
So then in codependency or controller, fixer, obsessor type personality, or whatever we want to call it, they would overcommit a lot and just say yes to everything.
Probably.
A lot more like that. And so then setting up good boundaries is actually taking care of yourself and being able to do the things that maybe we've been self-denied of because we've been pushing ourselves towards everybody else. I thought of a certain hockey game that our child was in, Jordan was in, and there was no refs that showed up. I think it was a Saturday morning, and this is when they were big in competitive hockey and their full body contact. And was there any refs? I don't think there was any refs. Anyway, it was they started it anyway because I guess the ref had called and said one was coming in, and so I think there was a coach on the ice, and within 5 minutes it was very scary to watch. There was no boundaries. They were taking headshots. They were headhunting. It was violent within 5 minutes. And so that's when I think of the boundaries. Actually having the ref there makes it actually for a fun game. And so what was the title was Feeling Good. And so if there's no refs, if there's no boundaries, everybody's feeling bad because they're bleeding and they're in the penalty box. And it's not a fun game when it's that much tension, especially for the parents. And so I think when I thought of the boundaries and feeling good, that's kind of how I put it. It's like life is still going to give you body checks, but at least there's a ref and there's boundaries that are going to keep you safe for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that hockey analogy. Woo! What happened to the NHL? Forgot about them and sports. Yeah. So I think as we move today is just really understanding our boundaries. Having boundaries doesn't complicate life. Boundaries simplify life. I like that concept. And so then they've attached boundaries to self-care, feeling good, enjoying life.
Yeah.
What boundaries do you have?
Boundaries has such a negative connotation to it.
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's the same as a ref. Like, sometimes we hate the ref, but at least they're there putting boundaries to keeping our kids safe.
Yeah. I can't even, like, think of... Because it's true. It did go into very much, like, do what feels good to you. Which sometimes I find these can be a little bit...
But I guess if the boundary... Like, so today, like, and it's funny how we started, but today, if I don't have a boundary, I can get consumed into doing this for that person, going to meet with this person. Like, I can honestly say, like, I can't meet with you today. My schedule is full. Fine, it's full of myself. But, like, I still have some running around to do, which I find enjoyable. I still have to go here, maybe a little lunch at a taco truck.
yeah.
But I'm not committing because this is my boundary of today.
And I've definitely learned that just because there's a day that doesn't have something on my calendar in the evening doesn't mean that I should agree to do something with someone that night. Because I can't be doing something every
Because
night.
our week can just go by so
Right.
fast and be like...
Obviously not in COVID life. In COVID life, it's totally different. But I really do. But I don't know. Anyway, I just feel these are very...
a little fluffy sometimes, or a little
Yeah.
inward.
Like, I just don't think that doing...
I think the spin on this has been so outward focused, which is still selfish because we're getting our needs from other people.
Yeah.
But I think the point is, in addiction, we have not enjoyed life.
Right.
Like, we don't have any boundaries. And I know in my addiction, I said I wouldn't do this. And even as playing sports and stuff, there's just certain things I wouldn't do. Even working, I'm not gonna finish my last beer. Like, I wouldn't have even thought I needed a boundary for finishing my last beer on the way to work. Like, I didn't think that should be a boundary, but like the things that I thought were important actually change. And so my boundary kept changing and my boundary kept changing, and it was a miserable slow death because I had no boundaries. And so I think the point is, in addiction, our boundaries go so far of the things that we would never think we should or would like to do. Our boundaries got stretched because of our addiction. And we were the makers of our boundaries. So we could set our boundaries wherever we wanted. And if they needed to change, we would change them. And so we're boundaryless into a pit of death. The pit of death. And so now coming into recovery and having a referee in your life and setting up boundaries. So I can, on a Tuesday, if I need to energize and recharge, I don't have to feel guilty about doing this thing and saying no to certain people or no to everybody.
Right.
Do you want me to wash the windows today? No, I'm not going to. I'm sorry. I got the boundaries set up so that I can have peace and joy in my life.
I would never ask you to wash the windows anyway.
I know.
Yeah.
They need to be done though.
They do.
So if you feel like doing that today.
No, that's probably not going to happen.
The upstairs windows, they get moldy around. I don't know if yours does. But we try to vinegar spray them once a year. Give them a little toothbrush scrub. I usually use your toothbrush because you always have a new one, so I put it back. Boundaries. All
Have
right.
a good day.
We don't have anything more to talk about. We're talked out.
I just actually feel like I'm talked out.
All right. You can be.
Like in life. Like if I don't talk to you for the rest of the day, don't be offended.
Not going to be offended. That's your boundary. Hope
might
you
happen.
enjoy it.
It's probably not going to happen.